All right, so let's talk about the sandboxing a little bit. So we've got a function, right? We're gonna run a query where we're running this a Python function, and so at query startup, what happens is the packages are installed in the warehouse nodes. So just like when we run a query, a SQL query in Snowflake, and it goes and gets the micro partitions that it needs, those micro partitions then are cached for that warehouse. It's the same scenario here. When we run a Python function, the first thing it's going to do is it goes and grabs all the packages that it needs, and it's going to install that on the warehouse node that we're going to be using. So if there's another query on the warehouse that recently used the same packages and that warehouse has not shut down, then those are cached. They're already there. They're already installed. They don't have to be installed again. So we're not going to have to wait for that to happen. So it's going to be a little bit faster. So files from the import list and .pys, .zips, if we're bringing in our Python code and it's zipped, it's in a stage, right? Any other imports are either downloaded or pulled from the cache. So if those have already been used, they're going to be in the cache, or they're going to be pulled in and downloaded. So since Python has a global interpreter lock, Snowflake creates many Python interpreter processes for each function in the query. So let's talk about that a little bit. The first thing it does, you'll notice here we've got kind of the worker process, right? We've got our sandbox. We've talked about the secured sandbox for Python. The worker process, what happens is that Snowflake is going to initialize the Python interpreter, and then what it will do is it will fork additional processes. So it doesn't have to recreate it every time. It's just going to say, all right, I'm going to create this one, and if I need multiples, then I'm going to just make a copy of those, right? So it doesn't have to reinitialize those. So you can see we've got a number of these, and you'll see when we actually run some of the queries in the query profiler, you can actually see how many of these are actually running and how these are all set up. So kind of a cool thing there. When the query then is done, the packages and the imports remain in the cache, in the local cache, but the sandbox, the interpreters, they're all cleaned up. They all go away. Those are gone. But the packages, imports, all will remain in cache, and they'll stay there until that warehouse suspends. Once that warehouse suspends, they're gone. If you go to run that function again, it will resume the virtual warehouse, and then it will go through that process again, reinstall those, bring those up, initialize the Python interpreters, fork those, and you're on your way. So, and then the last thing I've got down here, rerunning the same query or another query that uses some of those packages, it's going to be faster, right? Because those are cached. Just like if we run a SQL query on a warehouse where we've got those micro partitions are already there in memory, and we can see that in the profiler, right? In the profiler, if we go in there, we'll see the data that's scanned from cache. And so we can see what percentage of the micro partitions that we were querying we pulled from cache. Same thing here. If we've got packages or imports that are used again and that warehouse is not shut down, then those are going to be there in cache. We don't need to reload those. We don't need to reinstall those.
Hey folks, thanks for checking out this cut from our broadcast. To see the full show, click on the link in the video description. Also, check out our Learning Center, which has white papers, events, live streams, and short explainer videos on a wide range of data management topics. And of course, if you like our content, please share it on LinkedIn. That really means a lot to us. Thanks again for checking us out, and we hope to see you in our next broadcast.